Call to order, November 3, 2022, Fairfield Zoning Board of Appeals. We have a couple items on our executive session before we open it up to a public hearing. First is approval of the minutes from our meeting of October 6, 2022. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Terry, is there a second?
Jane, second.
Thanks, Jane. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, bring it to a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Next is approval of secretary's fees. Entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, bring it to a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposed? Any abstentions? None. Motion carries. And since I was a little bit late for our working session, I'll open up and we'll reconvene that later after the public hearing. But now I'm going to call to order the public hearing, Zoning Board of Appeals, November 3, 2022. After I call a meeting, the applicant or his or her agent should come up to the podium, and at that time you can present your case. During your presentation, if you have anything for us to consider, you want to show us anything, photographs, maps, petitions, please do so during your presentation and not while I'm calling the matter. After, when you start, I'm going to give you time. We'll have some discussion with questions from the board. After that, if there are any questions, I will then invite anyone who is interested to come forward and speak. I first invite those in favor of the application, and if there's anyone in favor, they will come up and speak. I will then invite anyone who's opposed to the application to come forward and speak. If there is any opposition, I will allow the applicant or his or her agent a time to rebut or address those comments in opposition. I just want to let you know, if you're the applicant or the agent and there is an objection, it's not your time to restate your application, it's your time to address the comments that opposed your particular application. This meeting's being taped, and that's required by law. And why I'm giving some of the instructions that I am is to make sure that it is clear and we have a complete, clear record, so only one person can speak at a time. Anyone who does speak must come up to the podium and give your name and address. We welcome the comments of anyone, obviously the applicant and his agent. We want those people to speak, and welcome the comments of anyone else that's interested. However, remember, this is the Zoning Board of Appeals. Remember what the applicant is seeking. Usually it's a variance of a particular zoning regulation, so please focus your comments on that and what our role is in hearing those particular applications as the zoning regulations. If you're too far off the point, I reserve my right as chairman to restrict your comments at any time. We'll be, as I said just a moment ago, we'll be reconvening our working executive session after the public hearing. For every matter that goes forward today, we will be voting on it today, all right? Applicants do have an opportunity to ask for a continuance for some reason, and depending on what that is, I will entertain it, and I can say usually I allow that, as long as it's good reason. If we go forward and hear the application, we're going to be voting today. There's 5 voting members. In order for your application to be granted, you need at least 4, a supermajority, to vote in favor. If it's a simple majority, 3-2, even though that's a simple majority, your application will be denied. If you cannot stay, that's fine. I do recommend anyone, whether you're listening remotely or you're here in the room, to stay while we're discussing your particular application or the application which you're interested in. Because you may hear some discussion, you may hear some reasons, you may then have a better understanding of why we decided the way we did. If an application for a waiver is granted, it will not be valid until it's recorded. So therefore, you must make a check out in the amount of $60 payable to the town of Fairfield and bring or send it to the zoning office Wednesday or later for proper recording of the notice. Any waiver involving construction, whether it's a new dwelling, an addition, or an alteration, requires an as-built before there can be issuance of certificate of zoning compliance or a certificate of occupancy. If you cannot stay while we're going through our working session, don't worry, you can call and find out what happened. Call the zoning office tomorrow or later to find out what was decided. The first matter that we're taking is on our general docket, and then we'll tick back to our continued docket. It's 830 Beach Road, map 138, parcel 46, petition of Sophia Leonida for variance of the zoning regulations, section 5.2.4, to reduce the side setback from 7 feet, currently 11 feet, proposing 5 feet, and section 5.2.5, to increase the total lot coverage from 20%, currently 24.5%, proposing 24.8%, permission to construct a platform lift, premises A zone. Attorney Fallon?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, my name is John Fallon. I'm pleased to be representing Dr. Leonida. She had planned on being here, but she just could not make it physically, but she appreciates your consideration of this application. Sophia had maintained a very active and successful pediatric practice in Fairfield for many, many years. She's certainly treated countless kids in our town and is just a wonderful lady. And she's owned and lived at 830 Beach Road for over 25 years. Her house, like many in the neighborhood, was severely damaged by Superstorm Sandy, and that requires substantial reconstruction. At the time, the house was significantly elevated in order to ensure FEMA compliance. And I know in your diligence, you may have been out to the property and you've seen the elevation. Unfortunately, in May of 2017, Dr. Leonida, who's been under the care of Alice Chen at the hospital for special surgery, has become debilitated, and those unfortunate debilitations continue. As I set forth in my material, she suffers from significant neck pain, balance issues, arthritis causing ongoing pain, decreased range of movement in her neck, and significant problems with her gait and stability. As the letter I gave you from Dr. Chen indicates, she's especially at risk for falling while negotiating stairs. And it's unfortunately anticipated that these disabilities and a risk of falling may continue to worsen as a result of her degenerative condition. This has forced Sophia to basically live for the last 2 years on the first floor of her house. Due to the reconstruction requirements, she can't make second floor stairs safely. Similarly, there are currently 10 steps in the back of the home to enter, and her disabilities there again present an increased risk of falling whenever she has to utilize those stairs to gain access to her home. So what we're proposing in order to address this situation is the installation of an outdoor lift around the back of her house as shown on the plans that we've submitted. This lift is really essential if Dr. Leonida is going to be able to remain in her home where she's been 25 years and safely have access to her home. So we're hoping you will consider that and grant the variance. From a legal perspective, we're looking for 2 variances here. One is to reduce the side property line setback to 5 feet, and the second is a minor increase in coverage of 0.3%. The current coverage is 24.5%. The lift would take it to 24.8%. In my material, I cite the statute that guides you in these matters, the 8-6A3, and as you well know, you have to examine 2 conditions. One, is what's being proposed going to substantially affect the comprehensive zoning plan? And 2, are there legal facts or facts that constitute legal hardship that give you the basis for granting the variance? With regard to the first part of this test, I cite the Egan case that says that if our appellate court has said that if the variance will facilitate permitted use of the zone, then the first part of the test is satisfied. That's certainly the case here. There's not going to be any change in the property as a single-family residence, which is permitted. The proposed lift is in place very unobtrusively and will not have any adverse impact on the character of the surrounding neighborhood. Dr. Leonida did speak with all of her abutting neighbors, and they have all signed this petition in that they are aware and have no objections. And I would add, talking to a couple of them, they're very, very anxious to see to it that Dr. Leonida can safely remain here in her home. With regard to the hardship argument or issue, obviously I cite that the location and characteristics of an existing structure on a lot can create a proper basis for a finding of hardship. I cite those materials or those cases at page 2 and 3 of my submission. This is particularly true when compliance with FEMA regulations implicates the use and enjoyment of the property and the structures located thereon. And that's really the fact here. It's the condition of the existing structure and its elevation to comply with FEMA, taking into the consideration Dr. Leonida's unique and significant medical conditions and needs that creates in this case, a hardship-based argument, and that's basically the structure itself and its elevation. Again, what we're looking for here is simply the approval of these variances with our neighbors' consent that will allow this modest lift, but so important to her lifestyle, so she'll be able to safely ingress and egress her house and enjoy the upper floors of her house, which she hasn't been able to do for some time. And all of this will allow her to stay where she wants to stay and has been as a vital part of this neighborhood for the last 25 years. I very much appreciate the board's and my fellow applicants' courtesy in allowing me to go first. I do have a family matter that we have to tend to today. And I know Dr. Leonida very much appreciates your consideration of the application, and I'd be pleased to answer any questions.
Thank you, Attorney Fallon. Does the board have any questions for Attorney Fallon?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Hi.
Yeah.
Aside from the actual lift itself, what is being proposed to put the lift,
I'm sorry?
what is being proposed to put the lift on? Is it a concrete pad or
I believe so, yes.
it's at grade?
Yes.
So that someday if the lift isn't there, all you have is a concrete pad left behind?
That would be my understanding, yes.
So yes, okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for Attorney Fallon? Hearing no other questions, is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor of the application? Is there anyone in opposition to the application? Hearing none, I'm going to close the hearing on 830 Beach Road. Thank you, Attorney Fallon.
Thank you both all very much.
And we'll go back to the continued docket. First item we have is 154 Ferncliff Road, map 46, parcel 250, a petition of Madeline Giannatasio for variance of zoning regulations, section 5.2.5, to increase lot coverage from 15%, currently 16.2%, proposing 18.7%, and section 6.3.2, to allow an accessory apartment to exceed 40% of the floor area of the original residence, proposing 42%, permission to build a two-story addition to accommodate an in-law apartment and reconstructed deck, premises R3 zone. Oh, go ahead, up there.
Good afternoon. I am Madeline, and I'm here with contractor Sal Nordo to request a variance as indicated, which, all these percentages to up an in-law apartment. We have been in the neighborhood, I've been here since 1983, very aware of the surroundings, very small, according to a set of neighbors that we have spoken with the neighbors, and I do have the form for that as well.
Yes, thank you.
The purpose of the in-law apartment is to provide for my granddaughter and my son. She's 5 years old, and we're still looking forward to her being able to go to the same school that her dad did, and it's the only way that we can make that happen. I am full-time caretaker for her, and it's just gotten a little bit difficult as I've gotten younger each year. So, my,
That's your
I'm her cousin.
cousin, I heard that
Yeah,
before.
I'm gonna build it. The only,
Why don't you give us your name?
my name is Sal Donardo.
Okay.
The only thing we're looking for, on the side entrance, other than the coverage, other than the coverage, on the side of, entrance, there's one step that's gonna fall outside the, what's called the setback. So if, I can make it like work, but it's not gonna look right for the neighborhood. For the sake of one step, we'll make it nice and clean, and it'll look like it belongs with the house, you know? So, we did ask for that, and, when we were here, we were told we had to come to the hearing. And listen, they've been in town she's been here most of her life, you know, and her little granddaughter is, they want her close by. Right now, it's very hard running back and forth, you know, to take care of her and then drop her back off.
All right. Okay, anything else, Mel?
No.
Okay. Does the board have any questions? Yes, go ahead.
Where's that one step you're talking about? Because if it's less than 12 inches off the ground,
I was told that too,
it
yes,
doesn't count
yes,
as coverage.
right.
So-
And it falls, you know, we wanted to make sure,
Well,
you know, it's gonna be one riser.
so that's less than 12 feet.
Right.
It's a non-issue.
Okay, good. We wanted to make sure it was covered.
All right, any other questions? All right, having no further questions, is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor of the application? Is there anyone in opposition? All right, hearing none, we're gonna close the hearing on 154 Ferncliff Road. Thank you both. Next item is number 6 on our continued docket, 259 Barbary Road, map 228, parcel 75, petition to David T. and Nicole Chiaburo for variance of zoning regulations, section 5.2.4, to reduce the street and sideline setbacks from 50 feet and 25 feet, currently 41.3 feet and 20.4 feet, proposing 41.2 feet and 8.8 feet, in section 5.2.5, to increase total lot coverage and floor area from 10% and 20%, currently 10.5% and 9.8%, proposing 12% and 20.6%. Permission to construct a 1.5-story, 2-story addition, premises AA zone. Go ahead, sir.
I waited. Chairman, I'm just gonna hand out a couple things which will be easier to take you through our presentation. First set of pictures will be, homes within the neighborhood that have the same characteristics. First set of homes, I'm sorry, is our home and the immediate properties around it. And then I have the neighborhood, which you'll see, and we can take you through. And I have a little overview of what the neighborhood looks like, so you'll see, which is really the most instrumental to our argument. And I will have a petition to hand out a little bit later. And then I also have a chart that shows how this is, our application is affected by what we believe is a misdesignation of what our zoning standard, what our zoning designation should be. I apologize, let me just get this out of one way early. Okay. Sorry.
Pick your papers.
Yeah. Okay, so, we represent the Chiaburis with regard to this property, 259 Barbary Road. Terry Tierney is our architect, as he would take you through, give you a feel for the improvements that are gonna happen to the house and why. This property comes out of a subdivision basically back in the late 40s, early 50s. The house was built in 1951. I'd like to take you to the GIS showing the neighborhood, because this is really the heart of our hardship. Our hardship is the properties were all built in this particular part of this subdivision, which is in yellow. We are the house in yellow. It was built and approved back in the 40s and 50s as a half-acre zone, which would today currently be R3, which as you can see in the light yellow, are all R3. Our property is the highlighted yellow, which is just above it, across from the, almost on a corner there. What had happened at some point, after these homes were all built, the town changed the designation to this to AA, being a 1 acre zone. This property and the properties around it, none of them have 1 acre that came out of that subdivision. This property, as you can see, the properties across the street from it, in each of them. And if you know, at the end of the block is that, is an old property, that I think, the town has recently acquired. I think it's now the Roger McGovern campus or something like that. It was it's now owned by the town. I think at one point there was a threat that there was gonna be an affordable housing project going on up there. But this property, all these properties are R3 out of our subdivision, and for some reason, as the town changed to go to AA, it cut through the middle of this subdivision. We unfortunately end up on the short side of that situation, because now we have a half-acre lot that's controlled by AA standards. So what I did was, I tried to show you a chart that shows that if we were R3 like the rest of the neighborhood, how we would basically be compliant with everything in R3 except for one small setback, which I'll take you through. So as you can see, we meet all the R3 standards, which is everyone else in our neighborhood and our subdivision is governed by. I really can't go for a zone change because it would kind of be spot zoning. I'd have to get all the neighbors on board to come in with a massive zone change, but I'm hoping the next time they change the zone map, the town will address this. So as you can see, lot size fits the R3, minimum square, lot frontage, everything else, as you can see that's in red, is what's non-conforming under the AA. We basically can't do anything because we are required to have the development standards of a lot that's double our size. So what we're seeking today is to do, in addition to add a 2-car garage, and I'll take you through the neighborhood. You'll see there's a ton of 2-car garages in there, and that everybody else is governed by this R3 standard. The only difference is our side setback is supposed to be 15 feet, we're only at 8.8 feet. But if we had taken what would normally be the sum of the setbacks I think it's, in some instances it's 15, it's 25, meaning a 7 and an 18, or it's 30, meaning a 7 and a 23. Our combined sum of setbacks would be 34 feet. So our hardship, as you can see, is not self-governed. We're not looking for more than we'd be entitled to as everybody else in the area. We're just one of the 2 or 3 houses in this subdivision that's subsequent to the house being built, the regulations that govern this subdivision changed. So I'm going to take you through, this is the house. If you can see, I gave you this is our house. It's a unique, basically it's and our client's family's growing. They like to make improvements to it, as you will see, have been done throughout the rest of the neighborhood, because they don't have these overly restrictive AA standards put on a half-acre zone. So one of the things, one setback that we're going to ask for, that we would need no matter what zone we were, would be to go down to 8.8 feet on our side setback to enlarge our garage. And if you look over here, but I wanted to show you the picture, because that lot sits about, its garage sits up about 10 feet above ours, and is already well buffered. And we'll explain to you the reason why that is, because for a reason when they set the house up, the house was set up so that the lot, because of the steep grades on the, let's call it the south side, they tried to get as much up on a flat portion as they could. So the property doesn't sit in the middle of the lot. Let me take you through this. So as you can see, those are pictures from the side. You see how well buffered it is and how guided. That's where we have our 8-foot setback. And then if you look at this one picture, you will see the difference in grade, so that we don't believe this garage addition will have any impact at all on our next door neighbor. That's the rear yard. And the further evidence to show in the difference in height is if you look at this picture, which has a fence in the back rear yard. You can see the house in the upper corner, that's our neighbor's house, that's much higher and out of the way. So, in looking at this, we believe that this is certainly we have a hardship. I also gave you a look at mostly all the other houses in the neighborhood, many of which will be smaller than ours that is approved, all have 2-car garages. We have a 1-car garage, and all basically are up almost to the setbacks. What's interesting also is our neighbor to the south, their garage is basically almost on our property line. So this will not be inconsistent with the houses in the neighborhood. What I'd like to do is have Gary Tierney take you through the design. He spent a ton of time on design and making sure this works, that it's attractive from the road, and doesn't have any negative impact on any neighbors. Chaburys have been hard at work at this, want to stay in the neighborhood. They love its locale, but it's treated as an Upper Southport AA lot when it's truly a 100-foot wide, half-acre lot. So, Gary, why don't you take them through the setbacks, through the elevations, and show them exactly what your charge was.
Okay. As Ray said, my name is Gary Tierney. I'm an architect with Design 2 Architects in Guilford. As Ray explained, it's a typical very small cape. The challenges were that the bedrooms, the 3 bedrooms that are used by the kids are all undersized. One of them is 9 feet wide, one's a little bit over 9 feet wide. There's a very steep stair, and the existing house was a 1-car garage, a kitchen, a breakfast area, either a living or a family room, whichever you want to call it. If it's the living room, then there was no family room. If it's the family room, there was no living room. So the plan is to improve the stair so that it's not so steep and narrow, to create a family room, to add an additional garage bay to the garage, so we have a 2-car garage, and expand the kitchen and breakfast area into what we would consider to be a little bit more standard. The second floor currently has a once again, a small bedroom, a master bedroom, which is really kind of tucked into the eaves, and a single bathroom. The idea is that by raising up the roof on the front, we're able to create 2 reasonable-sized bedrooms for the kids, a guest room, and a much more appropriate master bedroom suite. The zone, as does both the R3 and the AA zone, permits 3 stories. So we will be capturing, without raising the roof to do so, we will be capturing some space in the attic that's appropriate.
You have that other plans on the back of that side.
Yeah.
Give you an idea of what the house will look out.
Those are some before and afters. I think we submitted those with the application also. We understood the challenge when we got started on this. Before I understood the history of the project, when I first meet with the client and I'm shown the site plan, my first reaction is, oh, you've got issues. Fortunately, the owner, David Chabreau, who is here with us today, had met with Matt, I guess, approximate to the time of the purchase, so that they understood what some of the possibilities and the challenges were. And when I met with Matt the first time around, because driving around the neighborhood, it's very clear that there are very few 25-foot setbacks for the adjoining properties and whatnot. And that's when Matt made me aware of the fact that the zone had changed at a certain point, and we were kind of an anomaly. And we have also included, these are the after elevations. We feel that the house is appropriate to the neighborhood in terms of its massing. In terms of features, we're just trying to get the house up to what most people would consider to be a standard for a growing family. Chabreau's have 2 kids. As I said, both living in very undersized bedrooms with not a lot of closet space, et cetera. So we're not really trying to create any unusual spaces. We're just trying to get it up to what most folks would consider appropriate for a family of this size.
I'd also like to, we've also made sure that we've contacted all our neighbors on each side, neighbors that would be visibly impacted by that, and we have a petition signed by, I think you might have this already in your file. If you don't, this is a petition signed by all the neighbors who surround us, who support the application. So I ask you to keep in mind, but for the misdesignation of the property, which is our true hardship, the only other, we should be R3 like everyone else in the neighborhood, and everyone else whose homes were built at that time, that the only real variance we need, would have needed, would be a side yard setback. And that side yard setback is driven by topography and elevation. So there's a natural reason why we need this variance. It's not just something because we'd like to have it there. But we couldn't sink a garage over here because of the change in the elevations, and also with regard to where how the house is situated, because it just wouldn't make any sense. And on top of that, the nice thing about where it is, difference in height, already buffered, and our neighbor's garage is would abuts it. So you have garage against garage on two different levels, and then you still manage a little bit of a side yard, and keep in mind there's a very large rear yard. So this is not a McMansion that's overwhelming a lot. This is a lot we're just requesting to be able to do the same thing that everybody else has been able to do in a like-kind subdivision, but for the town's change in the zoning designation. I hope that, I'd be happy to answer any questions or any concerns that the commission has.
All right, thank you, Attorney Rizzo. Is there any questions for Attorney Rizzo or Mr. Tierney?
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Harold. Looking at the first picture, on the right side of the garage, I see a fence towards the rear of the garage, and I saw the fence going back on the side, right side of the house as well. Will the garage
Garage will
addition
be inside the fence line.
extend to where that fence line is?
No, it's going to be, the fence line is almost on the property line. The garage is going to be almost 9 feet from the property line.
Just that far?
Yeah,
Okay.
I presume you're talking about this fence along here.
That fence?
Yeah,
here in the picture.
yeah, that's right on the property line.
Oh, I see.
So we'd be about halfway between the existing garage and the line of that fence.
Okay. And in another photo, I see the stone wall from the front to the right of the garage existing. I believe that this is the house currently.
Yes,
Correct.
yep.
Okay. And in your drawing, you showed the stone wall being moved to the right side of...
So the hammerhead, for the driveway contains part of that. The hammerhead for the driveway will remain. The closer portion of the stone, that right now the protected hammerhead starts basically right off the property line and continues across this property line. So this portion of the stone wall will remain, and then the turn out from the garage gets moved back, obviously, so that we can provide access to the second garage bay.
Keep in mind, it's a front-loaded garage, so the alternative would be to just back out, and that is on a hill that goes up. So the idea would be you want the hammerhead so you can back out, turn around, and come out front ways with better sight lines.
The tree that's there.
All driven by the topography.
The tree will
The tree
remain.
will
That was
remain, yeah.
another question I had.
Shows up on our.
And the tree is on the neighbor's property?
No,
or-
it's about, 4 or 5 feet onto our property.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, hearing no other questions, is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor of the application? Is there anyone in opposition? Hearing none, I'm going to close the hearing on 259 Barbary. Thank you, Attorney Rizzo. Thank you, Mr. Attorney. We already heard general docket number 1, general docket number 2. 105 Pine Creek Avenue, map 238, parcel 54. Petition of Maureen Gilles and Jason Tomey for variance of zoning regulations, section 11.10, to increase the total lot coverage from 20%, currently 28.6%, proposing 29.6%, and section 11.15, to reduce the street line setback from 15 feet, currently 4.4 feet, proposing 4.3 feet, permission to construct an elevated mechanical platform, premises BD zone, and Land Surveying Services.
How's it going?
Okay, go ahead.
Hi, James Zumo, Land Surveying Services, 1275 Post Road. Fortunately, I had to do this virtually today. I know I was eager to get in, but I'm on baby duty. My client is looking to install a single air conditioning condenser elevated for the zone. The flood zone in the area is 13. Must be elevated to elevation 14. In turn, it's going to count as coverage. The site is very, very tight. We've looked at all the options. The best spot where there's not a window and there's the clearest location is off of the existing line of the house along the hold on one second, the westerly right-of-way, which is, north of Pine Creek Ave. That location will put us about 4.3 feet off of the right-of-way. Our requirements are 15 feet. There is a typo where it says 4.7 on off of that rear line. The deck will be 5 feet off of that rear property line. There is no variance requested. That is a rear lot. As I'm sure you guys have all been involved with, the 4 lots that are in this location that require variances for pretty much anything you want to do. We talked to the neighbors, William and Deborah. They had signed our petition, which I had sent over to Matt, which I hope is in the record. I went to the other neighbors across the street. They're literally our only immediate neighbor, but I went to the neighbors across the street. No one was home. I left my card, and I have not heard anything from my office. No one has given us a call. So the variances are for coverage. Everything counts in coverage in the beach area, and the variances for the setback off that street line. The existing house is built 4.4 feet off the street. This keeping in line in the orientation of the house and the orientation of the property lines is going to bring us 1/10 closer to the property line. And it's going to be 14 feet up in the air, so it's going to count as coverage. If there are any questions, feel free to shoot.
All right, thank you, Mr. Zumo. Any questions, Mr. Zumo? Okay, having no questions, or anyone that wishes to speak in favor of the application? Is there anyone in opposition? Mr. Zumo, just make sure you don't say having baby duty is a hardship, all right? Let's make sure on that.
This, off the record, it's the hardest thing I've ever done.
Fair enough, but it's not a hardship in this law.
No.
And you didn't present that. I just wanted to make sure your wife wasn't listening to this record later.
No.
So we're going to close the hearing now on 105 Pine Creek Ave. We'll take that up later. Thank you.
Thank you.
Was there, Matt, was number 5 continue? Were you whispering in?
183,
No, still going?
That's actually, Ray Rizio's job.
Yeah, I know. Okay, I didn't know.
There you go.
All right.
He went out all, I think.
All right, number 3, 2 Naps Park Drive, map 44, parcel 42A, petition of Erno Basco for variance of zoning regulations, section 5.2.4, to reduce the rear and street line setbacks from 30 feet and 40 feet, currently 15 feet and 29.6 feet, proposing 27 feet and 38.1 feet, and section 5.2.5 to increase the total lot coverage and total floor area from 15% and 30%, currently 18.69% and 27.93%, proposing 20.49% and 30.89%, permission to construct a rear one-story addition and second floor dormer, premises R3 zone.
Good afternoon. My name is Erno Bax. I'm the owner at 2 Naps Park Drive. We've been living here for like 15 years now. It's a tough lot, it's a pre-existing legal, non-conforming lot, that sits on the corner lot. And our lot is located in a single-family district under R3 zone, like you mentioned, and that's a corner lot. So already our lot is not confirming, minimum required for that lot size would be 20,000 square foot. you know, and I think 100 square feet square, you know, the lot only has 10,100 square feet, and, you know, the square only 68 feet. So anything we try to do to that property, we'll have to get a variance, you know, basically. You know, the first floor is a small, you know, kitchen, you know, mudroom area, and with a family room, with a dining room between. So we are a family of 3 and 2 dogs, and, you know, family of 5, you know, with 3 kids, you know, growing, and, you know, having friends from school and everything. So we would like to construct in the rear back, so not even in the front, a small addition, like a 12 by 18, you know, it's going to be more like the living room and hangout, and, you know, extend our current closet, you know, to make a bigger closet for my spouse. And, it's, we got a little, you know, we met with our neighbors and, you know, showed them the plans and, you know, walked them through the whole process. And I have copies of their signatures, you know, they have no objections on that. I mean, I would like to do a copy of that. Actually, they were happy that we, you know, doing something, you know, in the neighborhood and bringing that along as well. We love where we live, and, you know, obviously we need more space, you know, having the 3 kids and the dog. So, you know, hopefully, you know, because of the hardship, you know, obviously, you know, we need to have your approval, you know, and the neighborhood approval. So, I don't know if any questions you may have, you know, I'm happy to answer it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Vasco. Does the board have any questions for Mr. Vasco?
No.
Having no questions, is there anyone that wishes to speak in favor of the application? Is there anyone in opposition? Okay, thank you, Mr. Vasco. We'll be taking that up shortly. Our next item that we have is number 4, 184 Mill River Road, map 148, parcel 42, petition of Shoshana Snyder for variance of the zoning regulations, section 5.2.4, to reduce the sum of 2 sideline setbacks from 25 feet, currently 21.8 feet, proposing 21.5 feet, permission to remove the existing garage and construct a new 1.5-story, 1.5-car garage with home office above premises A zone. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Shoshana Snyder, the owner of 184 Mill River Road. I am here today hoping to get your approval. Currently, my hardship is that the property is a non-conforming. The house is not parallel to the street, and it needs to centered on the lot itself. So I'm asking for a small reduction in the setback. It's a small 1-car garage now. I would be removing it and building a modest 2-car garage with a mudroom and bonus room or home office above. It would stay consistent with what is in the neighborhood right now. The home really hasn't been touched, so I'd be bringing it up to today's codes with building as well as septic. The garage was really important to me when I purchased the home. I'm a single mom, and so just the safety of my son and I coming in and out, although we're in a safe area, coming in and out at night, and then at some point, well, this terrifying thought, he will be driving, and so I would like us both to be able to pull into the garage at the same time at different times.
All right, thank you, Ms. Schneider. Does the board have any questions for Ms. Schneider? Go ahead, Harold. Yes.
You mentioned, you'd be adding, replacing the single garage with a 2-car garage. It says here, construct a new 1.5-car garage.
It's a smaller, it's not a full-size 2-car. So it's not a full-size 2-car, so it will be a little bit smaller, than 2 cars. We won't have as much room. And I did forget to mention, I did talk to the neighbors flanking me as well as the one in the front and behind, and I did get their, signatures. I only have 1 copy, I apologize.
Okay, that's all right. Thank you.
Any other, questions, Ms. Schneider?
While we'll take that, but make it part of the record, the petition.
Any other questions? All right, having no other questions, is there anyone that wishes to speak in favor of the application? Is there anyone in opposition? Hearing no other comments, we're gonna close the hearing on Mill River Road, 184 Mill River Road. Thank you. Number 5, 183 Roland Road, map 182, parcel 164, petition of Dominic J. Como Jr. and Christina A. Como, for a variance of the zoning regulations, section 5.2.5, to increase total lot coverage from 20%, currently 21.8%, proposing 22%, permission to transfer a portion of the property to the neighbor premises A zone. Attorney Rizzio?
Chair, members of the commission, my name is Raymond Rizzio. I'm attorney representing the Comos at 183. Happen to also be representing the owner of the next door neighbor, Linda Rizzio. This is a picture of, and I'll explain what has happened and how this all came about. So, these are some pictures. So this is a property that was subdivided back in the 80s, along an old subdivision. The Comos, who purchased this lot from the original owner, were told that a fence that was put up was the property line. This was back, they had purchased the property had always operated under this fence line. You see the fence line basically here. Okay? Can everybody see that? Okay. So what happened was the Comos then purchased the property from, this was a vacant lot, they purchased the property, and then this house from the original, then the original developer who owned this house sold to the Comos who owned 177 Roland Road, and the Comos sold the house to Linda Rizzio. So what happened was everybody had always thought it was a quick closing, no survey was done, but that the Comos had, along the years had replaced when they owned 177, had replaced the fence. Everybody was under the impression that the fence line was on the property line. But early on, the developer, who had owned this property for about 40 years before he sold it, had to shift the property lines to make all the squares and everything else work. When we did the survey to put this pool in at 177 Roland Road, it was found that this section of the property, which had always been maintained by 177 Roland Road, taken care of by 177 Roland Road, was actually on the property at 183 Roland Road. So to correct this 40-year problem without going through an easement which causes all sorts of insurance issues or an adverse possession case, it was agreed to just transfer this portion of the property from 183 to 180 to 177. What is the net effect of that? The net effect of that is it increases the coverage on 183 by 2%, because you've taken 156 square feet away from the lot. What you don't see as part of this application, but it is on the map, is you reduce the nonconformity of 177 because it decreases the coverage on 177 because they're gaining 156 square feet. Both houses are built, full floors upon them. There is no proposed additional construction. There is nowhere for additional construction, and there is no request for any additional improvements. This is merely to basically affect a misconception as to where the property line was. And if you can see, I took a picture from above on 177. The area that's mulched and landscaped, but it should have been mulched and landscaped for about 30 years, is the area with which is in dispute. As you can see, not in dispute, is the subject of this application, as you can see, is very integral to the property at 177. For all those reasons, we believe the request for the variance is de minimis. Additionally, it doesn't create any additional benefit to the property at 183. And with regard to 177, you're actually, by the transfer of this, you're reducing a nonconformity by the same percentage that you're increasing the nonconformity on 183, and you're talking about 0.2% on either side of the fence line. And I would like to be able to go home and get into a house. Because my client at 177 Roland Road will be an issue with her attorney.
All right, well, I want to have a comment on that like I did with Mr. Zumo. But any questions for Attorney Rizzio? All right. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor of the application? Is there anyone in opposition? All right, going to close the hearing on 183 Rolling Road. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Number 6, 159 Lally Boulevard, map 182, parcel 4, petition of Joseph Catalano and Susan LaCorte for variance of the zoning regulations, section 5.2.5, to increase the total lot coverage from 20%, currently 14.5%, proposing 23.5%. Permission to construct a new side and rear deck. Premises A zone. Go ahead, sir.
Good afternoon, I'm Lee Overland, I'm an architect, and my client, Joe Catalano, is over there for 159 Lally, and I do have the signed sheets from the neighbors. They did a letter as opposed to sign the sheet, but they're here. There's one missing that's behind them, but they just cannot be contacted. But instead, I guess you got somebody else behind them, right next door behind them, so we have an extra one here.
Yeah, can't read that.
So as you can see in the application, this is a new home, and what we're asking for is a deck in the back right side of the house, and a small connecting deck on the right of the house. This is in a FEMA area, and the requirement is to have the house elevated, and in order to get down to a patio, you'd be going down about 7 or 8 steps. So we designed it as a deck. I don't want to confuse the issue, but we thought when we did the plans, we always show a deck. Unfortunately, the surveyor misinterpreted that as a patio, and it never got included in the coverage. So on the plan, I always thought we have a 19.5%. Apparently, we are 23.5. So when this came to my attention, I spoke to the surveyor about a month ago. We realized that this mistake had happened, and at that point, obviously, we needed to go for a variance. The deck itself is basically built. We stopped construction on it. We didn't do the railings, or we didn't do the decking. We stopped the construction to come to the variance, just in case it's not approved. What's interesting or the hardship about this is, as I said, it's in the FEMA zone, and the FEMA zone requires us to be up at elevation 12, and therefore we actually have to have that much more coverage in steps, the front steps getting to it. We need a utility grate that's on the other side of the house that also counts as coverage. And you may recall, I've been here a couple of times, we designed these ICF homes, the insulated concrete form homes, which are the fire and stormproof homes that we specialize in, and they actually have a thicker wall, an exterior wall. It's 12 inches wide, which, believe it or not, actually added on versus a standard wood wall, added on a couple of hundred square feet, which is about what we're over. So between the utility grate, the extra steps getting up to the FEMA area, grading these types of designs, it brought us over to 23.5%. Now, we did go to each neighbor. As a matter of fact, I met personally with the neighbor who was really the only neighbor affected, which is on the right side, and they also signed the letter there. But we met with the neighbor last week, and just to make sure they really understood, and they're the only ones affected, and they were perfectly fine with this, with the potential approval of the variance. They're the only ones who really would be affected. and as I said, they did not have any concern. All of the other neighbors you'll see that were contacted, all the adjacent neighbors, also signed a letter saying that they have no concern with this variance either. Well, let me open it up if you have any questions, if I can explain anything further to you.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Overland. Any questions? Go ahead, Jane.
Hi. Can you just state the hardship that's, defined by what we have to judge?
Right, so the hardship is that in this zone, it's a FEMA zone, so therefore we have to be elevated off the ground, which now creates a grate that has to be elevated, which now is part of coverage, where a home that wasn't in a FEMA zone would not be counted as coverage. These utilities can be on the ground. We also had to add a lot of steps going up to the first floor, which counts as coverage other than the first one within 1 foot. So that added coverage. And then, you know, is the ICF our hardship? I mean, we're trying to get that out in the community because so many of these homes get destroyed. But that does make a hardship for at least our clients, and it takes, you know, several hundred extra square feet to build these houses. So those are the 3 hardships that I'm bringing.
Couldn't you just build a smaller deck that would be, you know, the 3.5% over, take that, just cut it off the
Well,
deck?
the deck is only about 350 square feet. I think we're over 350 square feet. Or 2.5% would be, 24, 36, would be about 400 square feet. So we would really have to eliminate the deck and just have a patio, and then getting from the house down to the patio again, you know, you'd have, you know, steps from here all the way down. So it was just obviously the client is, you know, being that far off the ground to,
So it's either steps up to a deck or steps down to a patio? And we're rising.
well, using the deck is mainly from the house, you know, so that, coming out of the sliding doors, coming off the kitchen was really the main use of it, but you're correct. I mean, if you're out in the yard, you'd have to go up.
Yeah.
But, you know, the barbecue and the furniture and the eating, you know, bringing the food out there, everything's done right on the same level, 1 step down from the kitchen, because this deck is right off the kitchen.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, Mr. Overland?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Harold.
You stated that this is new construction. The original construction plan, did it specify a deck or a patio?
A deck. And as I said, somehow, we had a building permit on the deck is built, and then, I'm not sure what started my looking into it, but I was speaking to the surveyor about something, and I said the deck, and he said, no, it's not a deck, it's a patio. And I said, no, look at your plans. He said, oh my gosh, it's a deck. Sorry, I put it as a patio instead. I didn't think of the, so.
But didn't the original survey that you submitted for the building permit show the same percentages if it was called out as a deck?
The original survey that you had, well, the original one showed 19.5%. So we thought we were over. I didn't look close enough to see the fine print that he wrote patio versus deck. But because the patio is the exact same size as the deck that we have now.
You designed this house, right? So the drawings show a deck.
Yes,
So that's what was submitted.
for permits, yes.
Okay.
And that's what we received the permits on.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? All right, before I open it up to comment, Mr. Overlander, we did receive a letter in opposition, an email. I'm sure you received that. So I'm going to wait, and then I'll allow you, you know, to see. Just I want to see if there's anything else, so it's do it all at once. So I'm going to open it up to comment, and then I'll allow you, even though, you know, you didn't address it in your application, I'll allow you to address that in a rebuttal format, okay? Is there anyone that wishes to speak in favor of the application, 159 Lally Boulevard? Is there anyone that wishes to speak in opposition? Was there any, Matt, is there anyone on the
No, there's someone there.
Okay, all right, so, we do have for the record, an email that came from, Byron and Lisa Bond, 98 Lally Boulevard, and you have that, Mr. O'Levin. Would you like to comment on that opposition at this time?
Sure. Yeah, the letter indicates that, and they're actually down the road, quite a ways down the road, so they would not be affected at all. I believe briefly, the intent of the letter was, that it's a large house and, why should we be giving variances? I did respond to that. I wrote an email the other day once I received that to that, neighbor, because they seem to feel the house looks very large, but the house is 3,400 square feet. I mean, it's not any larger than most of the homes. It's not like it's smaller than several of the homes. It's not like the house that they live in, I think, is 2,700 square feet. So I did write them back, just trying to explain that there's no siding on the house yet. Once the siding goes on, I think you may have this, once the siding goes on, I mean, the scale is gonna look better. The neighbors actually wrote a letter saying that they love the house, the way it looks. It's an asset to their neighborhood. And especially what they said on the, directly against the deck said, we have no problem with this. So I did address that email and, said that if you'd like to call or meet, but I just want them to know that once everything is done and landscaping and siding, this house is really not gonna look any larger than the other homes that are there.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Overland. All right, I'm gonna close the hearing now on 159 Lally Boulevard. And it looks like you can stay right there, Mr. Overland. Our next item is number 7, 49, 49 Bonnie Terrace, map 232, parcel 228. Petition of Joseph McCambly and Joan Zimmerman for a variance of zoning regulations, section 5.2.4, to reduce the street line setback from 30 feet, currently 30 feet, proposing 26.8 feet, permission to construct a one-story front entry addition premises A zone. Go ahead, Mr. Overland.
Okay, thank you again, the Overland, architect, and fortunate enough, I just moved into the Fairfield about a year ago, did my own home here, and fortunate enough to be designing homes and additions and renovations. So this particular project, and these are all the neighbors. Yes, so they have the 5 signatures. Again, these neighbors, as in 159, were all approached, and none of them seem to have any issue with this one either.
That's all.
So on this particular project, you're allowed to go out into the front yard. So we have a little covered overhang that you probably should have a drawing you can see. A covered overhang that is allowed to come out into the front property. Setback lines are coming out about 7 feet. I believe they're about 10 feet. So that's okay. But what the variance is requesting is inside that little overhang that comes out at the front door. It comes out, in the front. We just want to pop out the front wall about 3 feet, because right now these homes, or this particular house, as you walk into the front door, the stair is right in front of you. So, you open the door and the stair is 3 feet away. So the client had asked if we can push out the front wall, 2 or 3 feet, or I think we did 3 feet, and but that puts us into the 30-foot setback, and therefore require the variance. We are allowed the roof covering and the bump out there, so that we could build. If we actually bump out the front wall, you're really not going to notice that because it's within inside this overhang anyway. But obviously, we do need a variance to do this. I do have an elevation that you should have. That shows what that you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those as well.
Thank you, Mr. Overland. Is there any questions, Mr. Overland?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Harry.
So, currently, there's a front door there that has an overhang, and,
There is no overhang now.
oh, there is no overhang now. So, you mentioned an overhang.
Well,
That would be the new addition, and so you're bumping out to create an entranceway that extends from the front of the house. Is that correct?
Okay, so right now, we're legally, if that was the front door, we're legally allowed to bring this roof out, within that setback, so we were going to bring that out. But within that piece that we're bringing out, we just want to take the front door and move it out, I think I have 3 feet, so that they have a little more room in front of the, stair. But it's totally within the covered overhang that we are allowed to do. And that is new, that is proposed.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing no other questions, is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor of the application? Is there anyone in opposition? Hearing no other comments, we're going to close the hearing on 49 Bonnie Terrace. Thank you, Mr. Overland. We'll take a 5-minute break, if that's enough, and we'll reconvene working session after that. Call back to order on November 3, 2022, Fairfield Zoning Board of Appeals. We'll take up the matters that went forward today. First matter for business is a continued docket number 10, 154 Ferncliff Road. This is Giannastacio, owner, presented the application. Entertain a motion to approve. So, thank you, James. Or a second? Second. Thank you, Terry. All right, discussion.
The lot is too small for the zone, so that's a percentage of it.
Any other comments? All right.
I mean, for me, I'm like 2.5% over the coverage, right?
No, yeah, 3.5.
All right, let's bring to a vote. Getty?
Yes.
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 Yes?
Yes. That's been granted. On number 6, 259 Barbary Road, Tony Rizzo presented this with Chiburos, and this is to construct 1.5-story, 1.5-story and 2-story addition. We also heard from Mr. Tierney, architect. Entertain a motion to approve. So moved. Thank you, Terry. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Harold. All right, discussion?
Another non-conforming lot,
Right.
size lot.
Reasonable.
Yep.
So,
Reasonable.
And Attorney Rizzo did not say this was a classic hardship, moving from one zone to another. And I was surprised by that, but he made the point very clear. I agree. Bring to a vote?
Yes.
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 Yes. General docket number 1, 830 Beach Road. Attorney Fallon presented this, for, Sophia Leonida, and they wanted to construct a platform lift. Entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Eddie. Is there a second? Second. Thank you, Terry. Discussion?
We had this one years ago, remember, for the deck? The
It's a-
elevated deck on
And
requirement.
it's a teeny, I mean, it's
Right.
less than 0.5% over
It's not-
coverage.
It's not a permanent,
Yeah,
structure.
Right.
Right.
It's semi-permanent, but James pointed.
When this,
There's gonna be a pad there, and if someone doesn't like it, in the future, they
it does, well,
remove it.
yes, but that ghost of a variance will always remain with this property.
Yeah.
So a future owner might, take advantage of that funny little bump, but
But it's a percentage, and it's such a small percentage.
I'm just saying, it's forever.
All right, bring to a vote?
Yes.
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 Yes. Number 2, 105 Pine Creek Avenue. Mr. Zumo presented this, for, Galais Tomy, and they wanted to construct elevated mechanical platform. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you, Jane. Second?
Yes, I'll second.
Thank you, Harold. Discussion?
Like so many of the properties down there, that
And-
generators.
And he made a point, there's those 4 properties right on that side street
Yeah.
next to impossible to do
Yeah.
anything. And,
Is that for a generator or AC? I don't recall what he said.
I think it's it's the, AC unit, air hand. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, bring to a vote?
Yes.
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 Yes. Number 3, 2 Naps Park Drive, Mr. Basco presented his application for his own property, a 1-story addition, and second floor dormer. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Katie. Discussion?
It seems like a big leap to go from 15 to 20%, 20.49%, but it is a non-conforming lot, so the neighbors.
And that
live
lot
in the
is,
back.
it's a non-conforming, crazy
Yeah.
corner lot.
Right, so,
And it is to the rear of the house.
Right.
I believe the addition is to the rear.
and
Yeah.
the FAR,
And that's towards the high school, so it's not really interfering with the neighbors, people playing tennis, maybe, tennis courts.
Understood, yeah.
All right, bring to a vote?
Yes.
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
Yes, that's granted. Smiles from Mr. Basco in the back. Number 4, 184 Mill River Road. Schneider presented her application, to remove the existing garage, construct a new, 1.5 car garage with home office. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Jane seconds.
Thank you, Jane. And discussion?
Somehow, it's getting smaller.
Maybe.
Oh, no, it's getting closer, never mind.
Yeah.
It's getting
I like
closer,
branches.
okay, looking in the right direction.
Yeah. But,
It's
you
a
know.
very nominal increase.
Yeah.
And if you look at what where they are under the FAR,
Right.
25 to, 25.4%, when 40% allowed, so.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
Yes, that's granted. Number 5, 183 Roland Road. Attorney Rizzo presented the application for the Comos, to transfer a portion of the property to the neighbor. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Katie. Discussion?
Reasonable.
This is trading a piece of land that the, 2 owners agreed to, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a trade-off of the area of the lots, but also the coverage, so it swings both ways. That's what I heard.
it evens itself out.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
yes, you could say it that way.
Evens it out. And the line now is better with that fence.
Yes.
So it's straighter.
More
Better
aesthetic
property.
confusing.
All right.
Could
Okay.
use a
Yes.
survey.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
Yes. Report that he's unanimous, Attorney Rizzi.
Yeah.
I can go home.
Number 6, 159 Lally Boulevard, Mr. Overland presented this, for Catalano and LaCourte. Construct a new side and rear deck. Entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Okay, is there a second?
thank you, Jane seconds.
All right, discussion?
That's a great name.
Ah, thanks.
Thank you. It's a deck, so if it was ever to come back, if they wanted to build on top of it, they'd have to come back anyway.
Going up because,
Yeah,
yeah.
right, so,
Is the fault, the surveyor's fault for not specifying it correctly? If it was in the original plans as a deck and it got approved for a building permit that way,
Well,
I don't know what.
I think the issue is
Right.
possibly the surveyor, because the plan said deck, but the surveyor put patio, which therefore the surveyor did not count it in percentage for lot coverage, so Mr. Overland thought, you get the survey and it says 19.5% instead of, 23.5%.
But would not that have been caught by the town building?
Not if it's on the survey as a patio.
The surveyor thinks that they're saying it's true.
Okay.
Yeah, we've had, survey and design plans, many times. So, bring to a vote, Katie?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes?
Yes. And number 7, 49 Bonnie Terrace, McCambly Zimmerman application, Mr. Overland presented this as well. It's to get that front entry bump out, entertain a motion to approve. Terry, is there a second?
Second.
Katie, discussion.
No.
A teeny tiny bump out.
Yeah.
I don't know why they designed the capes when they had the
Right.
stairs with that front door opening
Talk to me about that.
right into the stairs.
Vertical.
It improves the entrance, yeah. I love capes, but I have a different cape. My cape, stairs are side to side, and that has its own problems, but, that's one of the problems with the capes. All right, bring to a vote?
Yes.
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 Yes. All right, thank you, that's been granted as well, Mr. Overland, 2 for 2 for you. We're gonna close the hearing November 3, 2022. See everyone in December, have a great night.